Now, I'm not insinuating anything, but that's suspicious. That's weird. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Taste of Reality. My name is Queenie. For those who don't know me, reviewing Married at First Sight, Season 14, Episode 13. Before I get into it, as always, do me a favor, like this video. It's free, painless, doesn't cost you a thing. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you know when I upload. Now let's get into the review. Normally I start with Noi and Steve, but I feel like Mike and Jasmina, there's not too much to say about them, but there isn't. So I'm just going to start with them, and hopefully I'm not very long-winded when it comes to them. So they meet up with, Jasmina meets up with Dr. Pepper, and she feels like Mike doesn't open up to her enough, and that he's the type of person who needs to earn trust from people, whereas she just gives it until the trust is broken.
What worries me is I don't know enough about his past. He always says his past is the reason why he is the way he is.
Now, my issue with this is you recently just admitted to not being a safe space for Mike intentionally. This was recently. It was either an episode or two ago. And so now you're talking to Dr. Pepper saying, oh, I need him to be vulnerable with me, da-da-da-da-da. But you've already said all of this time throughout the process, you haven't been a safe space deliberately. So how now do you Okay. Pastor Cal and Mike are talking, and he admitted that, before he was doing things because he felt like it was his husbandly duty, but now he's doing them because he's grown in with her. Yeah, he said he's feeling her. Yeah, he has an affinity towards her. And so he also shares that in the beginning, Jasmina actually used to kiss him goodnight every night. But once he realized that that was something that she was just doing just because she thought that's what wives do, he told her, don't do it on obligation.
She felt like as a wife, she's supposed to do those things, even though she didn't feel compelled to because she didn't feel connected to me.
Pastor Cal is right in saying that in the same way that Mike was doing things out of obligation, and now because feelings have grown, he does it because he wants to. The same could have happened for Jasmina, but now that he said that, he's kind of shut that down. Pastor Cal does nudge Mike to become a little bit more physically affectionate. And my thing with them is she has no problem with being touched by him. She doesn't feel anything though. Y'all know when a random person touches you or bumps into you, it's nothing, right? But when that person who either you love or you lust over even grazes your shoulder, you just want to explode. Jasmina doesn't want to do that. She said before that she does not get wet for him, and I'm sure it still stands. So even when you hear her talking, it's almost as if because I think she had said there are moments where she feels like, wow, we really could have something here, and that in the beginning, if they didn't have the issues that they had, attraction could have built. I would believe her if I actually thought she found him attractive. But something in me and something in a lot of you guys too in the comments say that it's just not there for her. So the romantic gestures, the, physical touch, initiating physical touch could work if there was potential, but I just don't see it. She just has a nice way of going about it. Nice in comparison to Alyssa, but I just don't see it. When they reconvene to talk about their sessions with the experts, she says that she wants to have more vulnerable conversations to get deeper with him. And he says he can only get vulnerable with her if she's vulnerable with him. And she's like, I will only be vulnerable if you show effort. And I'm like, wasn't he just showing effort? These two talk in circles. It's ridiculous. So then Mike asks Jasmina, okay, so do you feel like you can get to a point where we'll have that emotional connection built enough to last past decision day? And she's like, yeah, as long as we talk and have deep conversations and you really put in the effort and blah, blah, blah. But then also no.
What would make it not be enough?
If we're not doing all those things that, like I said,
yeah.
All I see them do is talk about talking and end up not lacking. Like, they have moments where they have a deep conversation, but it's always prompted by an activity or the experts. Like, I just don't see them as being people who are like, let's strip down emotionally, physically too, if you want to, and really get to know each other. They just don't do it. All they do is talk about doing it and never get around to doing it, and then complain that vulnerability is lacking. Well, you don't say. Stop talking and get to working. Okay, that wasn't bad. It was only 5 minutes. Okay, that was kind of quick. That's my wine glass, I'm sorry. Moving on to Noi and Steve. Noi meets with Pastor Cal while Steve meets with Dr. Pepper. And Noi's social media comes up for the both of them. And I'm sorry, Dr. Pepper, I love you, but I'm gonna have to disagree.
Running to social media to say her feelings instead of to you, to me that's fear-based. You know, like, she should be able to talk to you.
Dr. Pepper says fear-based. Elaine says immature. I think both are true, but I'm leaning more towards immature. For me, fear-based would kind of be like more of what Lindsey does. Lindsey is like a doomsday thinker. And I know that moving from a fear-based perspective can show up in different ways, right? But somebody constantly going onto social media and airing out your relationship business, to me, I feel like that's just something that's immature. Because immature people don't realize that, like, in-home business stays in home. I remember when I was younger, my parents would never tell me anything because I did not know how to keep family business in the family. Down to the point where they had a family reunion, not a family reunion, they had an anniversary that I was left out of because nobody came around to tell me that it was going to happen because it was like a surprise for my parents. And then when everybody's at the event, everybody's asking, yo, where's Elaine? I was back at the crib. I was at home because nobody told me nothing because I was too immature to keep a secret. You know what I mean? And so for Noi, I'm like, okay, I get it. Yeah, she definitely has a lot of fears, a lot of doubts, whatever, cool. But this specific issue is an immaturity issue. Finances also come up, and for Noi, she's still hung up on these imaginary children that she does not have, and basically says she needs him to get a job so that they can fund this family that she's trying to have. But she's also not trying to live with him after the process. But she loves him and she wants to stay married and she wants to have kids within a year, but not living together. It's not making sense. It turns out these two haven't even spoken about how Steve is going to secure their family financially, is going to provide financial support, comfortability, security. The conversation hasn't even happened. So later on in the episode, they try to have the conversation, but I felt like Steve was giving imaginary scenarios and not giving hard numbers to make things clear to Noi. I guess they are perfectly matched because even with Noi, when Steve brings up the social media thing, she's like, deny. I don't know what you're talking about. It could have had to do with you, could not have had to do with you, but it had nothing to do with you, but it could have.
Whether or not it's about me, people are going to assume that it's something that you're going through now that you're married.
It wasn't about you.
She literally says, I wrote it down. It's not about you, but I feel this way a lot when I'm with you. So it's about him. Oh my gosh, these two are like, they're a naive train wreck, and it's blowing my mind because he's approaching 40. He's emotionally intelligent, but like socially unaware at some points, and I'm just like, it doesn't make sense. And then with Noi, the thing about social media that pisses me off the most is that a lot of new couples don't understand the importance of presenting as a united front. Whether or not things are going well, and I'm not saying you must lie to the masses and she's like, oh, things are great, things are fantastic, but airing out your dirty laundry on Front Street does not help home front. Ever. At all. Unless it is in front of a therapist and in a manner that's for reconciliation rather than digging at the person. Moving on to Mark and Lindsey, there's so much about them. Oh gosh, I hope this doesn't take forever. So Lindsey is complaining that she needs consistency, but what she's not understanding from Mark is that he's able to give consistency as long as she is willing to provide some of the needs that he needs in this relationship.
If you can't try equally,
on things that bother me, then this is pointless.
What are you gonna do for me, Mark?
Her biggest complaint is that, he pushes and pulls. One day he's all in, the next day he's not in. And in my mind, I think that what Mark is trying to do is reset. So I think when he pulls back, he's like, okay, the full on affection is not working. Let me try to start back from square one. Problem is, he didn't relay the message that that's what he was going to do. And Lindsey is holding on to a continuous timeline with no resets. So with the two of them, I'm just like, I understand what she's saying. The yo-yoing me back and forth can get irritating, and I'm going to feel like I don't want to commit to somebody who's inconsistent. However, you've given him nothing except smothering. And to some degree, he does need somebody to step in for him. I mean, the man cannot eat vegetables, for crying out loud. He definitely needs some sort of a mother figure right now. However, he's not your child. This is a relationship. It requires equal effort. So where he's saying, hey, I need these needs met, you can also have your demands, but meet those as well, or at least try your best to do so. So Mark meets with Pastor Cal while Lindsey meets with Dr. Pepper, and Lindsey's reactions are a trigger for Mark, mainly because he reminisces on his parents bickering back and forth and how his mom was severely depressed, and his dad's coping mechanism to the conflict in their household was to retreat.
Are you afraid of being your father?
I've never been asked that. He wouldn't say anything for her to just start arguing with him.
Mark's expectation that, we've been together for so long, we should just know how to communicate is absolutely absurd, okay? That was never gonna work. However, I do understand the way he's been responding to Lindsey. When somebody's constantly at a 10, you can't meet them there, or it's just going to be volatile. And so his attempt is let me fall back, but then his needs go unnoticed, they go unaddressed, and then it's, a whole cycle over and over and over again. Break up. Break up. I don't know. Lindsey says that she's constantly sad. All she feels when she's with Mark is sadness. There's more sad days than happy days. She also says that whenever he does this thing of coming at her, attacking her, whatever, this is where she's like, okay, I'm done. And Dr. Pepper's like, don't forecast a relationship, because nobody wants to stay with somebody who keeps saying it's over.
That already sets up okay, if you're not loving him at this moment, it's gone forever. He's going to be defensive.
Come to find out, Lindsey's mom used to cut her down when she was younger. And so Lindsey's response to that was always to be sad. And as she's gotten older, she masks the sadness with being angry. This is why introspection in relationships is important, because you are doing the same thing to Mark that your mama used to do to you. And how does Mark respond? In either sadness or anger, the same way you respond. These are grown-ass people, y'all, and they're unable to look within themselves and see, where do I fall short and how can I do better? Lindsey's always looking for Mark to step up for her, but you're doing the exact same things that you acknowledge your mother did to you and how it affected you, yet you can't pinpoint that is happening in Mark. Y'all both need therapy. And I know therapy is a buzzword these days, but no, go. Today. When they come back together to talk about their sessions, Mark asks Lindsey to articulate her needs from a place of empathy rather than anger. And she says that she doesn't know how to express her hurt sometimes because she perceives the reaction that Mark gives her as combative. So they agree that I'm going to try to express my sadness without masking it with anger. And he's going, what is he going to, did he say anything? No. He didn't give no promises. No, he did. Mark reassured her that he'll still be there, even in the conflict, and that if he is in the process currently, it's because he sees potential both in Lindsey and in their union together. He did make a promise. I was about to throw dirt on his name. Look at that. Shame. Last but not least, before the scandal at the end of the episode, is Ola and Katina. So they go shopping together. Right. And Olajuwon feels like as long as he's got an eye on her, she'll do great.
I work hard, so I'm cool with holding down the home. I'm a traditional guy. I like that my wife could cook. But when it comes to groceries, it's definitely something that I would have to be behind her to guide her.
She later on is saying, you know, like, oh, I can cook lamb. Oh, I can cook ribs. And he's kind of like throwing jabs, but they're like playful jabs. And normally it's fine for like couples to bust each other's balls, right? But the way that he has already used her lack of life skills as a way to cut her down, even seeing this in like a joking manner, for me, it makes me uncomfortable. I'm like, can this girl live? She's saying she wants to cook for you. That's all you freaking wanted. Now she wants to do it. Do you even know how to do it? What do you want? What do you want?
What more do you want from me? Oh my God.
As they're talking to the experts, the dating app situation comes up. And Pastor Cal's advice is for Katina to ask Olajuwon what the triggers are that get him to respond the way that he does in conflict. And I'm sorry, Pastor Cal, I disagree.
This is your time to find out things about him, because he's had some hard times.
So because somebody has a history of hard times, I must now become their punching bag? No, the way that Olajuwon has acted this entire series makes me want to put the onus of reconciliation on him. He is the one who's constantly coming for Katina. He is the one who has, you know, demeaned her womanhood, who has verbally belittled her, whether or not he wants to admit it. And so for her to be the one to now go and seek out his triggers, I get it. In a relationship, it's from both sides. You know, you want to understand, where's this behavior coming from and how can we work through it? But it's almost like he didn't say this, and I'm sure he didn't mean it either, but it's almost like he's saying, you know, how can you stop putting him in those places rather than getting Olajuwon to stop reacting in such a volatile way? Am I making sense? You can't respond to me right now. But that's what really pissed me off about what Pastor Cal said. I feel like for her, triggers are great to understand, but if you're walking through a minefield, it's time to go. It's time to go. It's one thing for like some random situation to be a trigger that you had no idea about. Okay, let's unpack that. For every single thing to piss you off, the cooking pisses you off, the cleaning pisses you off, the dating apps pisses you off, the way she works out pisses you off, the way she rides a horse pisses you off, Come on, man. No. So on to Dr. Pepper's session. She says she's been hearing about Ola for weeks now and decides to challenge him, which does not go well.
Do I make her feel belittled? Absolutely not. You're pointing me out to make me look like the bad guy, but I'm really bothered about all of this.
I've realized that I don't like how he speaks to women in general. I don't know if he sees women as, what's the word? Subordinate? Not subordinate. Inferior? Are those synonyms? Y'all know what I'm saying. But how he speaks to Katina, obviously, how he speaks to Dr. Pepper, how he spoke in the past to Dr. Viviana is very different from how he speaks to the other men in the experiment, and also how he speaks to Pastor Cal. When Pastor Cal is talking, he is always agreeable, and he might even change his opinion on things. When women bring up the same things, he's combative. He says that his problem is that Dr. Pepper was bringing up old stuff and that he now trusts Katina and he has no issues. But at the beginning of the episode, you were just complaining that she cannot go shopping on her own. So what are you talking about? She's bringing up old stuff. She's not. And the whole process is for them to look at the footage and give an objective solution for, your issues. He's mad that it's this he said, she said, whatever. But if Dr. Pepper was to ask Olajuwon without having a point of reference, he would lie. Because that's all he's been doing. He lies. Oh, we're great. We're fat. You're not. So the couples meet up, everybody except Noi, to catch up and to talk about how the expert conversations went. Unbeknownst to them, the experts are listening in. And before I even get into that, listen, as a Black person, I was very embarrassed to watch this game because 21-6 in volleyball. from a girl who loves volleyball, badminton, tennis. Like I just, it was so painful to watch. They get to talking about the experts though. And Mark and Lindsey show that when she bears her heart, Mark doesn't really step in with her and to support her.
She couldn't be leaning over to him more, and he's
What's he doing?
nothing right now.
I do think that when it comes to Lindsey, he has become very jaded and might not want to show her that kind of affection, but it's necessary. Those little looks across the room, the little touch on the knee, the little, glance or a nod of like, I got you, I hear you, I see you, they mean so much. And so in those moments, whether you think she's overreacting or not, it goes a long way. A slight little glance, a little touch on the hand, it goes a long way. Then you have Olajuwon, who speaks up about his experience with Dr. Pepper. And basically he's saying that she's got to do better as an expert.
90% of it was a waste. I'm gonna be honest with you. She had no clue of what was been going on, and she made it clear.
Keep talking, Olajuwon.
The experts then pull up, and Dr. Pepper is clearing the air, basically saying that the methods that she was using to address certain situations, were to dissect the relationship and not necessarily to attack him. And it's unfortunate that he felt attacked. But all of a sudden, the man had nothing to say. He was silencio Bruno. He was very quiet. But when Pastor Cal is talking, very agreeable. Yeah, well, I understand. Oh, yeah, I say that to her all the time. Oh, yeah. It's a pattern. This man does not respect women. I'm sorry. It doesn't look like he does. The last couple they talk to is Jasmina and Michael. And Jasmina says that she's not opposed to physical touch, but she just don't like the man.
I'm not uncomfortable with things like that. It's just I feel nothing from it.
Dr. Pepper does challenge her to speak more hopefully. Instead of just giving a hard line of I'm not feeling it, say I'm not feeling it yet, because at least there is some possibility. That is it for this episode. As always, like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'll be doing the after party shortly after this, and I'll see you there.